This is a Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, and instead of reviewing it from my desk, I took it 20,000 miles around the world, from San Francisco to London, through the streets of Manchester, and all the way to China, before bringing it back home to New York City. I'm Gyasi, I'm a tech and lifestyle creator based in New York City. I used to write code for a living, but now I get to do something I never thought was possible. Review some of the best tech on the planet, and the only way I know how to test a phone is to actually live with it, so that's exactly what I did. It started at Samsung Unpacked, where I got briefed on everything new. And honestly, the feature that had everyone talking was the privacy display.
So I'll start by showing you, this is on the S26 Ultra, we have it set up to be privacy display for the Messages app. So if you open up Messages, you can see the privacy display is enabled on the S26 Ultra on the right. But then if you go back to the home screen, it's back to full brightness from all angles.
Now the rumors had us thinking that it would hide specific sections of your screen, like maybe the thread window and your messages, but it actually works differently. It covers your entire display based on the app you're using, or you can set conditions for which apps trigger it. And you can even enable it for your lock screen, pins, password, and patterns, along with your notifications. Samsung also showed off some impressive AI upgrades. Gemini can now call an Uber for you completely hands-free, all the way up until the payment step.
Call an Uber for me to San Francisco airport. So what it does is called automation. Basically, it is ordering a car for you right now. And if you want to change something, like put any additional info, you can do that. But also you can just close it, continue using your phone, click confirm, choose a car. So you can see the process.
So we can complete the entire process of ordering your car, and then you just click into the app to see wherever your Uber driver is?
Any moment. So what it does is basically put in all the info for you, so you don't have to spend your time doing it yourself.
I came across this other Galaxy AI feature called Now Nudge. Let's say you have a friend or family member ask you for photos, and you don't feel like digging through your gallery and coming back to your messages thread. Now Nudge reads the conversation, pulls up the exact photos from that trip location, and lets you share them without even leaving the message. And in a few taps, you can share those holiday photos to your friends and family. And the Now Brief, which is honestly one of my favorite Samsung features, got even more detailed and personalized this year. The devices themselves feel lighter, more ergonomic, rounder edges. I was gifted the Cobalt Violet. Wasn't sold on the color at first, but I'll let you know how I feel about it by the end of this video. Now here's where things get interesting. Snapdragon, the company powering this phone, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, flew me out to Manchester, England. And this was the perfect opportunity because back home, I'm deep in the Apple ecosystem, but out here, I've got no iMessage safety net. It's WhatsApp. It's putting the camera to the real test, not in a studio, not in a controlled environment, but in the streets of one of the most beautiful and historic cities in the UK.
It's 277.
Okay.
So if you head up the stairs here and turn to the right, head to the end of the corridor.
From the moment I landed, Manchester had this energy. A sleepy, historic city on the surface, but underneath, there's this fierce football rivalry that runs through the entirety of the city. I have to admit that I'm warming up to this cobalt violet color of the S26 Ultra. The rounded edges feel so good, and if you have an S24 Ultra, you'll notice that it's night and day. I do think the S26 Ultra is the most comfortable Samsung device I've held outside of maybe the A57 or A37. And today we're heading to Carrington, Manchester United's training facility for an official welcome, a Q&A, and then the part I've been waiting for, watching the team train and meeting the players, along with getting autographs from every player on the team, which is absolutely crazy. Today's the perfect day for a camera test. Now we're not able to take pictures or videos of our interactions with the players, and of course not them training, but I was able to do a few video tests, specifically wanting to test the log, and this year is a real step up in dynamic range and texture. One thing I do notice when using this camera is you're gonna make sure that you need to toggle on stabilization, otherwise you'll get a ton of wobble. I also tested the selfie camera while in the practice facility, and it nailed my skin tone too. No over processing, just accurate and looks natural.
So the game is actually tomorrow. This will be my first time ever going to a Premier League game in a Premier League stadium.
Welcome, this is your life now, a wasteland where we
So we're sitting in the Manchester United locker room, and I figured this is the perfect time to test the privacy display. For one, the last thing I want is someone next to me thinking I don't know anything about soccer. It's just been a while since I've kept up with the Premier League, and what's wild is how it works at a hardware level. The pixels actually narrow the light emissions angle, so from the side, the screen looks completely black. Now with the recessed lights directly overhead, you do still get some reflection, but the anti-reflective coating can only do so much against direct light versus ambient sunlight. The display is still vibrant, still completely readable with no squinting. This close to the soccer field, I couldn't help but think about I should showcase the horizontal lock. Samsung really flexed their camera innovation with this one. It keeps your video stable and level no matter how much you tilt the phone, even if you turn it in a 360. It's a cool concept, but I'll be real, I haven't used it a ton and don't really see myself using it because it relies on digital cropping and electronic stabilization, which essentially means in low light, you're going to get more noise and blur. The lighting has to be right, but where I think this could be incredibly useful is action sports, so snowboarding, surfing, anything where you're moving fast and the lighting is good. I woke up at 8:45 a.m. with 93% battery. Today I got invited to a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, pitch side access at Old Trafford, to shoot photos and videos of the Man U team solely on the S26 Ultra. So naturally, I had to put this phone to the test. After waking up, I was reminded when looking at my Now Brief that I booked a one-way flight to London. I completely forgot. See, I'm headed to China after this, and I booked it as a backup in case I couldn't get a direct flight from Manchester to Shenzhen or Hong Kong. But later I realized I never canceled it, but honestly, that's the Now Brief doing its job. And it also is prepping me for my next location, Shenzhen, where the weather is significantly warmer. So I know to set aside the right clothes for tomorrow's morning flight.
Hi, I'm Gemini.
Hey Gemini, what should I know ahead of today's matchup between Manchester United and Aston Villa?
Well, it's a pretty big clash for the top four. However, Aston Villa is having a strong season, so it should be a tight game. Keep an eye on whether Manchester United can keep scoring and if Aston Villa's goalkeeper can come up big. Are you rooting for a particular team?
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for Manchester United. This honestly feels like a dream. I'm in Manchester right now, about to take pictures with the team photographer for one of the biggest football names in the world, one of the biggest, most iconic sports teams in sports history. God is so good. As you guys can tell, I'm hype. It's crazy because I started posting more photos on my Instagram and then doing more camera tests because I've always been into videography and cinematography. And now we're here as a stand-in professional photographer with a smartphone. It just shows you how capable the S26 Ultra is. I cannot wait to see what type of photos we're gonna be able to capture today. Definitely putting that 200 megapixels to use and definitely gonna be shooting a lot of vlog. I'm gonna have two S26 Ultras on me, so you'll be able to see how I'm gonna frame some of the photos and videos today. How you feeling?
Excited. It's match day football. Let's go.
Come on, United. Nice to meet you. Gyasi. Nice to meet you. Welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, exactly.
The wider aperture f1.4 on the wide lens letting in 47% more light, and f2.9 on the telephoto letting in 38% more light, I can really tell. The images are clearer, more vibrant. I only wish a little bit more punchy in the reds and oranges. For a stadium draped in Manchester United red, I wanted that color to hit harder. And when you're pushing past 5x zoom, the textures can look a little soft compared to what I'm used to shooting on iPhone. But here's where Samsung turned the corner this trip. The log video on the S26 Ultra has gotten genuinely good. It used to be unusable, but now it's really approaching that iPhone standard of log. The dynamic range, the colors, the sharpness, the depth of field, all look so natural and cinematic with a ton of detail, close to what you see with your own eyes. It became my most used camera mode for this trip. It's like carrying a pocket-sized mirrorless camera, and with the built-in LED support and the ability to airdrop to Apple now, I can have my footage basically color graded and on my editing timeline in just a few clicks. So shout out Samsung for making the log workflow so seamless. Now battery. I started my match at 93% at 8:45 a.m. As you can imagine, shooting mostly in log and high-res photos, really requiring intense and continuous processing power, which can heat up components and reduce battery efficiency. By 10:59 a.m., I was at 65%, and by 4:40 p.m., 1%. And that's also including international data roaming. This phone was working all day and it lasted me a full workday. That's real world battery life under some pretty serious pressure. But enough talking, let me show you more about what my experience was at my first ever Premier League game on the S26 Ultra. So Manchester was the first stop and Shenzhen is stop number 2. I'm sitting at the gate to head to China and I'm on cloud 9. During this trip, I met some amazing creators, had a wonderful time. The Snapdragon team was such an amazing host in Manchester, and the city was so inviting and warm and welcoming. I also captured some of the most incredible photos of Man U players up close, felt the intensity of the stadium, the electric atmosphere, the history, the tradition, the songs. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. After a full week, here's where I'm at. The rounded edges, way more comfortable to hold. Samsung finally nailed the shape. The camera is low-key the most underrated upgrade on this phone. Now battery life, I never once worried about my phone dying. And honestly, being in China and the UK, using apps like Alipay and WhatsApp, visiting places where Apple doesn't run everything, it made me appreciate Android in a way that you can't when you're just sitting at home reading spec sheets. Oh, and the cobalt violet color. I definitely am a fan. That wraps up this week in a life review of the S26 Ultra. Stay tuned because I've got some exciting projects on the way and to find out why I'm in China.